Good morning. It's Sunday, and Lulu is running the show. It's a little early. It's a big week. We have an eclipse, our last of the season. Welcome to my channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and it's Sunday morning where we hang out together. We talk about the transits. We're very casual. This is not really about formality here. Oh, welcome, whoever gave me that nice thumbs up. Thank you so much. Oh, she loves having her neck rubbed. Now, you might notice on the thumbnail that this is if you're new to my channel, this is not the same dog. I lost my dog Lucky last October, and then this little special girl came into my life. Lift your head up. Lift your head up. Say hi to everybody. Hey, small wildflowers. It's good to see you. How was your week? We have an eclipse in Virgo this week, 12 degrees, and it's making aspects to Jupiter, which is very, I think, important. Something just flashed at me. I don't know what it was. They've changed the format. Lulu. Yes, say hi, Lulu. Hi, girly. Look into the camera, sweetheart. Head up. I got to tell you, you're doing okay? Good, good. I'm so glad to hear that. Been saying prayers for you. It's such a weird time right now, I have to tell you. Watching my neighbor's son just move his things out of his apartment is so bizarre. I think I told you last week that he had himself medically removed from the planet. Hey, post it up. Good to see you. Okay, so I'm going to put her down now and let her go enjoy her sunshine. She's really getting used to me. It's super nice. Okay, we have a big week. We have a lot to talk about. Let me get my little notes out here because I was thinking about, this eclipse season. Let me just move this back a little bit. I feel a little like I'm sitting right too close to the camera for anybody's good. Hey, 145 Club, good to see you. All right, so we have an eclipse this week. I did a video on it. Please check it out. I would appreciate that. Hello at Roselight77. Welcome to the room. You're a new name. We always like to see new people in the room. So check out the eclipse video, but I am going to touch on it this morning. But what I want to talk about is really more Venus than anything this week because Venus is going to move into Aries and come into conjunction with Saturn and Neptune. And supposedly she's in her detriment because she's in the farthest sign away from Libra. But I'm going to dive into that. Let's start first with Mars is going to enter Pisces tomorrow. It's in the last degrees of Aquarius, which I think Mars really likes to be in Aquarius, frankly. The sign complements Mars's sort of, I want to say military viewpoint. It really plays to the hero, to looking to the future. And because it's not very emotional, and Aquarius is co-ruled by Saturn. Saturn rules Capricorn, where Mars is exalted. I think it feels really good. But today at 29 degrees, I think Mars is anticipating the cold, potential deep waters of Pisces. Because as Mars moves into Pisces the day before the eclipse, it just seems, and there aren't many conversation. The planets aren't talking, but there's just always, if you think about the concert of the planets just working as one organism, each having their own duties, Mars has to be brave in Pisces to dig deep, to dive deep into motivations, into murkiness, into emotional waters, and how emotions are not, they're not even Stephen. They're not, speaking of Stephen, happy birthday this week, Stephen. I should have put that in the title of the video as well. Another big event this week. And Mercury is retrograding in Pisces. So there can be a lot of reflection. Mars is asked to slow down, maybe even tread water a bit, to really get in touch with those deeper emotions. Now, Venus is going to enter Aries on the 6th, 3 days after the eclipse. I want to talk a little bit about her because Venus has no moons. The planet scientifically has no moons. So this is very interesting to me because I think of Venus as quite an emotional planet. And I think it's because she needs emotions. She wants to feel emotions. She craves emotions. Venus rules 2 signs. She rules Libra, the sign of harmony and cooperation, and she rules Taurus, the sign of security or insecurity, and my voice. Now, I think this is really interesting because as Venus moves into Aries this week and comes into conjunction and is in the anaretic degrees of exaltation, she is very much having trepidation about having to be brave and assert herself in areas that, meaning going into Aries, in areas of her life where she would rather keep the peace or might rather keep her voice quiet. So I think that this week is really powerful because the eclipse is having 12 degrees of Virgo. The eclipse is going to illuminate something about our daily routines, about what we think about every day, how we get up, how we approach the day. In my adult years, and I'm not sure that even after maybe the age of 2, I don't know that I got up looking excited about the day. I'll be very honest with you. My childhood was very work-oriented. You know, my mother was kind of a taskmaster. She didn't clean herself, but we were assigned to cleaning. So I don't remember waking up and being excited for the day. And I bring this up because Saturn rules history. Neptune rules so many things, but I want to talk about the blurriness of Neptune right now because history is blurring right now. Venus is coming into this dynamic, and I think what it's asking for in this particular case is, will Venus let go or let it flow or let it grow? And will she assert herself independently into what she really wants versus kind of pushing back and hanging on the old story, the history, and what has been her experience of support, her experience of people applauding her voice, people making harmony with her versus her having to do it herself. So if the planets represent traits and characteristics in each one of us, then people who have Venus in Aries, I don't think it's really detriment as much as your soul has tasked you in this lifetime to find your value independently, to give yourself permission to be brave as you assert yourself and adventure into new areas where you explore the possibilities of what you can create. Oftentimes we think of Aries as ruling the body. Well, not the body, but it rules competition. It rules war. But I'm here about, to me, this is the exploration of the self. You know, when Venus moves into Aries, what makes me feel harmony? What makes me feel balance? What do I want in the way of a partnership? And also don't forget that she rules Taurus. So what do I want in the way of using my skills, using my talents? So, and I want to offer this too, because in this assertion, this is not about trying to bring up anger or frustration or any of those feelings. It's more about that vision of the future, that taking the time to build that future, because Saturn is asking for discipline and for bringing that concept into the real world. And what I think the Neptune is offering in the conjunction is it's through a spiritual dynamic. It's being mindful of the words and the vibrations that come out of my voice, out of my mouth. We are literally instruments. We don't think of it, we just talk, but that talking is an instrument. So this is so important. And I do think that the eclipse, watch the video, thank you very much. A little plug there. is going to illuminate where your mind has been enslaved to things, where your daily routines have become almost maybe a hamster wheel of just something I'm so used to doing. I'm not actually consciously asserting myself into my day, which is why I brought up not being excited about the day. I feel like this is a moment right now in time where, as we start to put our feet on the floor in the morning, it's like, how do I want to create my day? Versus I'm just living and moving through my day. That's where I'm going. Now we have Mercury retrograding during this whole time in Pisces. So here's Mercury swimming through murky waters, swimming through, emotions. Mercury's not necessarily that emotional of a planet. And Mercury likes to talk about things. Mercury likes to, in its own way, explore dynamics and concepts and ideas. So here, I think we're looking at, because where Venus is moving is leading me to believe, and with Mars moving into Pisces, that we're here on some level during this second eclipse to allow the illumination to bring us into new dynamics and to set new routines for ourselves. I recently I have a rebounder, and I go intermittently using it, and I tend to try too hard, do 20 minutes, jump higher. And this last week, I'm like, just do the health bounce, just do it for 10 minutes, but be consistent. So I've started that, and I feel good about that. And it's easy to do. And so I think it's about giving ourselves a break, not setting the bar too high, and being mindful of how we are entering these processes. Are we entering them with arduous, I got to, I have to energy, or am I going into it with I get to? Now, the other thing I want to talk about is that Saturn, Venus, and Neptune are all in a sextile to Pluto right now. So as Venus is in those late degrees of Pisces, that anoretic, that stressful degree, and here I actually think the stress is this. When Venus is in Pisces, she can lay back, she can talk about things, she doesn't have to take action. She can just dream away, dream away. When she gets into Aries, she's got to put her money where her mouth is. If you want that dream to come true, you have to assert yourself. You might have to assert yourself literally in action, or you might have to assert yourself emotionally to connect to it, or you might have to assert yourself mentally to see how you're going about your manifestations. And Pluto in the sextile is asking for you to activate your power, okay? To almost have control over, not complete control, but awareness is control over bad habits. And then we add Saturn and Neptune in the mix. So this is a very powerful week, whether it feels like it or not. There are these subtle undertones that are happening that are actually aligning us all more succinctly to what it is we want. Now, let me jump back to the eclipse really quickly, because in Jupiter's positive aspects to both the sun and the moon during the eclipse, it's making a trine to the sun, and I believe a sextile to the moon. This is really powerful because it illuminates something where I've enslaved myself, but I also want to offer this, because this is my rewrite on Virgo. I really believe that while Virgo is being of service, Virgo rules our health. And the reason I think Virgo rules our health is because we go from having fun, supposedly in high school, being free, being in that stage of excited anticipation for adulthood. And then we go into the weird, I'm sorry, I say weird, that's not really fair. But if you look at the idea that Christopher Witecki thinks Chiron rules Virgo, this is where it gets sketchy and where Virgo becomes a slippery slope, because it becomes this enslavement to the outside world versus using the talents and our skills to support the outside world. And I hope that I was clear about that, because as we go out of the fifth house, where we are nurturing ourselves, we are standing in leadership, where we are standing on the stage, using our creativity. This is the Leo energy, right? And then I believe we're supposed to take that into the sixth house, but oftentimes we don't. We get coached into go get a job that is 100 degrees or 180 degrees away from where you really want to be. So when you take the idea that, wow, Virgo is about the new experience, it's halfway through the wheel, it's a new experience of birthing me into adulthood, but using all the first 5 houses, the traits that I have developed in them, and taking them into the workplace. So there goes the eclipse. Have I been doing that? Or have I inadvertently gone into an energy of what's expected of me? What's expected of me? That's what I think is going on. And the Jupiter aspect to the eclipse in Cancer is going to illuminate, what do you believe? Where is your faith? How does your family dynamic, good, bad, or indifferent, how did it support you? And will you allow your beliefs to expand at this point? The trine supports it, okay? Meaning the trine from the sun in Pisces. I had a moment there. And then the moon is in Virgo, right? So there's a sextile. So you've got to activate it. You've got to, think, okay, am I operating with intention, and am I using the things that I enjoy, that bring me pleasure, that make me feel vital and youthful, and bringing them into my everyday world? That is what this whole week is about. And Mars in Pisces is on some level supporting that, because while he's not, the strongest in Pisces, because again, it's pretty hard to use your sword in the water. I'm thinking it doesn't cut through water very easily, but at the same time, this is where you put your sword down in war and you use your sword as truth, Okay. Oh, how nice. Yes, post pictures, Stephen. Absolutely. Although I don't know if I'm on your social media to watch, but that's fun. Hi, J Dog. Hi, Georgia. It's good to see everybody here. Okay, so that was my stuff for the week. I really think Venus is kind of important. Did I say hi to MK? Oh, just call me. See, I don't know that we'll ever get past the I don't know if in the human body we'll ever feel like we're actually swimming with the tide. I really don't know that this is the environment for that. I think this is the environment where we test our grit, where we cut our teeth, where we, make our mistakes, and our soul, tests itself here. I really do think that. In fact, this morning, I've been on this sourdough kick. I absolutely, sacrificed a loaf this morning to try something different, to skirt around a tale or two. I tested out the actual non-stick of the pan. No, it doesn't work. Anyway, because I want to offer this, when we surrender to the idea that this isn't a time to try to push forward. I really believe with Saturn and Neptune, Saturn is going to move 1 degree this week. Okay. It's on the other side of Neptune, and it's going to start to broaden. They're going to get away from each other, and Saturn's going to get deeper and deeper into Aries, actually asking us to continue to put the bricks and the mortar up to build our new selves. Now, while Neptune hangs out in those early degrees, it's giving us a chance to really infuse our spirituality, our creativity, to use music, to use poetry, to even use dance as a form of meditation that is aligned to what we want to experience. I think part of the journey here, especially kind of when you think about Mars, it isn't about taking action and always pushing through something physically. It's about aligning emotionally, spiritually, and energetically. Oh, I love sourdough. I'm already have another batch made, and she's rising. I think I was making my starter all week, and today was the first day that I actually felt like, oh, the starter's actually ready. So all the loaves I've made up until now of the sourdough have been too dense. So I'm hoping that this girl loaf, not my sacrificial loaf, will show me some nice, airy cinnamon. I'm going to make cinnamon bread. All right. Virgo rising 13 degrees. This is your, Georgia, this is your eclipse. This is a really, and I want to offer this too, because most people say eclipses are the ending of something. I don't really feel like there's an ending because the wheel is round, the earth is round. There's no real ending. I think it's an illumination. And in this particular case, I believe because Mercury is the technical ruler of Virgo, but I actually believe that Chiron, I mean, I'm really buying that Chiron thing. So I think the illumination is, where has my divots, my wounds held me back? Where am I enslaved to them? How can I extract the wisdom? Because that's what Chiron did. Chiron took the rejection of his parents, the abandonment of them, the scorn of society, and he transformed that into wisdom. He learned how to be an amazing warrior, but not a warrior in an angry way, but for righteousness. He, to fight for the light. Chiron learned how to use the earth to heal, to assist the physical body, to support the soul's intention in this lifetime. So when we really think about it, she was the sacrificial loaf. Did I say that? That's what I was calling her, the sacrificial loaf. But in any case, because that illumination, so on your ascendant there, Georgia, you're going to see where you potentially have enslaved yourself into service or into a dynamic. And when I say enslaved, it doesn't mean you don't enjoy it. It just means it could be a lack of balance, where we're doing something over and over again without really realizing whether it is supporting the deeper truth of what we want. Okay. Is the partner messing with your mind? Is she screwing you? DJ, it's good to see you here. You have a Virgo stellium. I know quite a few people with a Virgo stellium, and I don't think that that's negative. I just think that it's about focusing the stellium in the right direction versus that's the slippery slope. Because I really believe that to be of great service is to use our talents and our gifts and bring and birth them into the world. And I think that's been missed because, as a young child, I was coached to do things that created financial security for myself. And all of those felt like a prison to me. And I remember when, I was about 18 or 19, I worked at Bank of America for a couple of months, but I was coached that direction by my parents. You'll have benefits, you'll have all these opportunities. And so when I got the job, I absolutely despised it. Okay. It was terrible. And I realized though, but if I stuck it out for 6 months, I could get a car loan because I worked for the bank and I had no credit. I was a young girl. So it did work out. I stayed long enough to get the car loan and then I skedaddled out of there. And while I couldn't figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up, because I wanted to be this, and this wasn't really available when I was a girl, I decided if I'm going to have to work, I'm going to do something fun. And I got a job in Hollywood, and I worked as an assistant to a very famous director. He wasn't famous. He was famous at the time for his acting, but not for his directing. And now he's become, the go-to guy in Hollywood. And for 7 years, I had fun at work. So I think that's what Virgo's really about. That's why I tell you these stories. Yes, Virgo brings a great gift. You got to harness it, though. No, it wasn't Ron Howard, although I did interview with Brian Glazer. No, it was actually a gentleman by the name of Jamie Widows. He played what was his name? He was in Animal House. He was the head of the sorority, the really tall, white, very, what was his, Hoover? was his name Hoover? I can't quite remember. It's been so long. But his name is Jamie Widows, Widdoes. So you can look him up. I worked for him for 7 years. Okay. Are we ready to get on to our readings, everybody? So this woman is kicking you out. This partner is just kicking you. God, people are just unbelievable. The choices they're making right now. This is the polarity I'm talking about, people. You know, when I said that, camps are going to get like, there's going to be a weird division, and the division, maybe on beliefs, but I really think it's on scarcity. That right now, because of the way the world is and everything feels like it's just gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, that's why it's so important to stay connected to our source, connected to our own voice and what we speak. Because as we get caught into the swirl, it's hard to get out once you get caught. Once you get that fear bubble, it's hard we tend to energetically attract people who are fear-based as well. So we've got to really be conscious. I don't know if you want to hear the story, but I'm going to tell you real quick. Years ago, I did a meditation, and my meditations are always noisy. Like my mind, blah, 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 blah. I got to do this, I got to do that. But every once in a while, I will have a meditation that is so incredibly visual. It's like I'm watching a movie. And in this particular one, I'm not going to go through the whole meditation, but a Bengal tiger took me into the jungle and told me to jump into a whirlpool of water where everything was going like this. And I was like, oh no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And then it scared me and I jumped in, and the water was actually warm. And as it swirled around, it didn't take me with it. It was swirling. And I feel like it's a metaphor for what's happening today. Things are swirling around you, but you can keep the waters warm for yourself long as you keep your emotional body connected to spirit and continue to ask them to pave the way, to give you physical experiences that support this faith you're demonstrating in your own soul's intention for this lifetime. And that's Jupiter really giving us that supportive energy during this eclipse, okay? That sextile, it's the only aspect. I mean, we've got Mercury's kind of in the mix, but I think it's a little out of orb. It's in the same house as the sun, but I really think it's more the nodes. The nodes are right up on the eclipse as well, everybody. So the South Node releasing there. I didn't even think of that. The South Node, I thought about it because I talked about it in my other video, but the South Node is up against the moon, releasing emotions that don't serve us anymore, that have enslaved us. It's going to be beautiful. Okay. Onward and upward. Thank you for all of you that are in the room. Thank you for being here. I really feel so much love for you all. I don't know if I can express that enough. And I'm not a gushy girl. So, all right, let's start with our Aquarians. Wait, what is today? We're in Pisces, aren't we? What am I talking about? We're going into Pisces. We're starting with Pisces, yeah? What is today? March 1st. Of course, it's Pisces. It's going to be Lucky's birthday soon. You guys, that's going to be a weird time for me. But you know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about having a Lucky special, but I don't know what it's going to be. All right, we'll figure that out too. All right, our first card for our Pisces. Happy birthday to all my Pisces. Happy birthday to our Pisces Stephen. And the card, oh, look at this Ace of Wands. What a lovely, lovely energy for your solar return. New ideas, a spark of creativity, a sense of fire. This is very, it's a powerful energy. It's an infusion. I think it would be a nice idea to honor him. I just have to figure out what I'm going to do. All right, let's see where we're going with this spark of creativity, with this fire, with this passionate wand energy. People say rabbit, rabbit on March 1st. Why? How do y'all know that? What is rabbit, rabbit? I don't know anything about this little superstition. What is rabbit, rabbit? It is a great card. Woo! But where does it come from? Is it because Easter's coming? What is rabbit, rabbit? I don't understand. I know about the groundhog, but I've never heard of the rabbit. Well, at least not that kind of rabbit. Yeah, I don't know. So we have to Google it, right? Ask Chat GPT. Oh no, don't ask Chat GPT. Somebody made a comment about Chat GPT, and I have to tell about using a lot of water. And then the next thing I know, there was an article that came across my feed about it. So I've been not using it as much. Okay. Nobody can explain it. It's just like some old wives' tale that's been trickled down through the years. All right. Well, let's see where we're going for our Pisces. Desiree is saying to look deeper into a situation. Astera is saying to reach for the stars. Bethany. Oh, Bridget and Bethany came out together. Another looking deeper card. All right. We need to see what's going on here. And Bethany's upside down. Oh, it's the first of every month. Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was just the first of March. Isn't the first of March the Ides of March, or something like that of March? Something to do with Julius Caesar. I didn't know that. Rabbit. The only thing I know on the 1st of March is I got to pay my rent. And yay for me, my rent just went up. I got the nice little notice in the mail. And I always say to Spirit, well, thank you so much. You raised my rent, you raised my income. All right, what's this? The High Priestess. Okay, Pisces. Astera's being joined by the Joy card. Bridget's being joined by the Partnership card. And Merlin is joining an upside down Bethany. Okay, so this is really, I want to offer this because this Ace of Wands is your tarot card for the week. So this is about looking for a spark. This is about what brings me passion, or what ignites my passion. Because Desiree is telling you, Pisces, to look deeper into what your soul's intention is. The High Priestess, the first word on this card is discernment. Pisces is oftentimes very, very compassionate to a story that, if you listen to it closely, you can see how somebody is getting in their own way. But Pisces will end up being very focusing in on the poorness, poor me. Because I think that this Desiree is asking you to slow down and have discernment about, do I feel passionate? Don't I feel passionate? What do I want this year to be like? Where have I not allowed myself to expand or grow? Because Astera is saying to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires, and there is the Joy card. And this is the remedy. Now, the challenge might be is that Pisces might be swimming out to sea because you've had a lot of stuff going on, and you might be feeling a little untethered, I'll put it that way, because Spirit is saying to come back. Bridget's asking you to look deeper again. Desiree was doing the same thing. Now we have a partnership with the God and the angels in the 3rd position. In the final position is Merlin, alchemy, justice, and balance. But it comes when you start to take care of yourself. And I don't mean this is about physically. I mean this emotionally, spiritually. I mean it when it comes to your passions and things that you want to experience in life. Passion doesn't have to be, anything. Making sourdough bread could be a passion, I mean, I've kind of turned it into some sort of weird project for myself, looking at bubbles in jars. But because this is really about making, I guess, maybe this solar return, taking advantage of this, the North Node in your 1st house, this Ace of Wands. It's about grabbing onto your personal brass ring and what it is that you want to what brings you joy. So that's what this week is about. And I think that what Spirit is saying is, is to don't jump into action. Take a second look. Oh, the Ides of March is the 15th. I knew there was something going on there. What else I want to say about this too is that with this eclipse coming, and this is in the furthest sign, this is in your 7th house. I think it's going to illuminate somewhere where inadvertently, because when you think about Virgo and you think about Pisces, it's like too much Virgo can be too stuck in analyzing something, right? And too much Pisces can be too deep in the waters where I can't really swim out. I can't find my direction. So I think this is about balance. I think the high priestess is really saying, check in what feels right in your soul. What feels like my gut says, oh yes, this is good. And if there's any doubt or indecision, wait, put a pause on it. You don't need to jump into action. And that's how you will ultimately take care of yourself. Because I think that partnership is with not only with spirit, but with your soul, with you, the oversoul, the part of you that is not living in this physical experience. All right, let's move on to our Aries. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. How are my early born Aries enjoying this conjunction? I got to tell you, with this Saturn and Neptune hovering over my south node, I don't know, maybe I made bread in a past life. I don't know. Just call me C. Eckhart Tolle was in a most precarious situation, and he had been thinking about, unaliving himself. And in that moment, he literally connected to the idea that this is just a moment in time. What am I going to do at this moment? And he wrote The Power of Now. And The Power of Now then turned into a second book, not that book, but he then ended up doing A New Earth with Oprah Winfrey, and his whole life turned around. So I really you won't end up anywhere if you start to put in an intention, and in that intention, you say to spirit, thank you for putting housing over my head. Thank you for helping me to feel safe so that I can move effortlessly through this lifetime. Thank you for making this a divine disruption that actually leads me to something better. When I moved into this place in Laguna Beach, I had lost everything I own. I had made a bonehead move back to North Carolina. It was one disaster after another. I mean, little disasters, big disasters, and ultimately culminated with me moving home, with bill collectors calling me, bankruptcy knocking on my door, and losing everything I own. And then I said to Spirit, you need to help me. And I was walking down the street and I got this feeling to go into this bakery. I could hear them say, get a job at that bakery. I'm like, I don't want to work in a damn bakery, and I'm baking bread. I don't want to work in a bakery. I don't want to work in a bakery. Just go get the application. I don't want an application. Go get it. I went in, I got the application. The manager was there. I walked out with a job. And then 6 months later, or less, I can't remember now, it's been 22 years, I got this place. And Spirit had the people that owned the restaurant helped me financially. I took a loan out. You don't know what can happen, but you've got to start putting what you want to happen out into the universe, not your survival energy. I hope that helps. Okay, let's go on to our Aries, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Give it time and give it intention. That's the thing. Start telling Spirit what your new place looks like. All right. Here we have the King of Cups, but he's upside down. All right. That's a little, that's interesting. So there was something going on with our emotional bodies with the Aries. Let's look and see. I want to offer this. I don't know if that's amazing as the story. Oh, thank you, DJ. But I want to tell you that story was crazy when I was living it, because it was all going on in my head. There was no different voice. It didn't sound like Charlton Heston being Moses. It was like me having a Jim Carrey moment, and I just surrendered. That's how I learned to be intuitive. It was when I started to surrender to the magical parts of what was going on in my head instead of the Virgonian dutiful parts. And that might be what this whole eclipse idea is about, if you think about it, because Pisces is magical and dreamy, and the Virgo energy is very earthbound. All right, let's look and let's get back on track here. Well, housing is tight, but that doesn't mean Spirit can't find a spot for you. That's the point. You got to kind of like You got to believe in the magic that it may be tight for everybody else who's thinking it's tight. But I'm thinking, no, there's a spot for me. And I'm telling you, this apartment, I never, ever in a million years would have thought. I have like a nicer, my home is so incredibly nicer than anything I ever thought I would live in. You know, does it have a lot of nooks and crannies that could use a little bit of fluff or nutter? Yeah. But, you know, last night when I looked out and the ocean, over the ocean and saw stars, I was like, thank you, God. All right. Well, this little guy wants to come out. Let's get our reading done. Because this is the time. Saturn and Neptune on the world axis. This is the time to put Saturn's structure into your verbiage. Sing the song. Neptune rules songs. Neptune rules lyrics and music and poetry. And you put those two together and you sing that song and you watch magic happen. And you don't expect the magic right away, because if you're expecting it right away, then you're not on an alignment. You're in, I need validation. My mind needs validation. You got to surrender all of that and be like, you know what? I'm going to make it. I'm not pushing no shopping cart. I'm not sleeping on the street, and I'm not going to be in some seedy hotel, motel. I'm going to be somewhere where spirit is aligning all of the components to bring me peace of mind. Oh, I think Jupiter will be hitting me today. You know, Jupiter is on my IC, literally sitting. Jupiter's sitting at 15 degrees, parked there, getting ready to move direct in a couple of weeks. I can't remember the exact date. And this is in an opposition to my midheaven. But what is that opposition? Is it really bringing things? To me, when I see an opposition, there's a tug of war somewhere, and I need to align to it and then surrender. So, all right. Aries, we have the King of Cups, but he's upside down. We have Archangel Uriel here. Okay. We have Fiona. She's upside down. We have Serena, the angel of abundance. And then we have Maya, the angel of education and purpose. The owl will join, that because the owl flew out of the deck, will join Archangel Uriel. We have the Grail Knight joining Fiona, who's upside down. We have the Queen joining Serena. And then we have the Birth and the Rebirth card. Okay. The King upside down of Cups to me is, for my Aries, is really, you could feel very much as if your cup is being drained right now. Having Saturn and Neptune entering your first house and could be your 12th house. You know, you guys know I'm loving Placidus more and more. With my 26 degree Aries rising, all my Aries energy is in my 12th house. So with Saturn and Neptune hovering over my South Node, I have an opportunity to release old energies that don't serve me. And here what we're talking about is not being in touch with my anger, or being in touch with my anger so much that it's driving the bus. You know, Aries rules frustration, anger, resentment, harboring things, letting the fire inside burn you out versus stoke you forward. Because Archangel Uriel is talking about, this goes directly with the King of Cups. Okay, so your Archangel Uriel wants to help you with your emotions, but you've got to understand that their emotions, like when I look at the owl, it's sometimes, I remember a girl used to tell me that what did she used to say? Something like a negative emotion fueled her into action. She would not let it tank her. So I think that's what's going on here. If you're frustrated, if somebody's frustrating you, if somebody's mucking things up, they're just a huge distraction for your greatness, because now is a time to honor that greatness, honor what is most sacred to you, and almost turn away. It's not being a patsy or a doormat. It's about, I don't have time for this nonsense. I'll address this later. Let me get on with the business of living my life. Because Fiona is saying that God is trying to give you something, but you're missing it. And this could even actually represent Aries' intuition, not just your emotional body. That your intuition is off and distracted, or being mucked up, or marred, blurred by your anger. And that was one of the things that when I was talking about Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, that I did not find that book when I was in my issue with money. I found that book years before that. And I had to implement the book every single, like, not implement the book per se, but what am I thinking now? What is the power in this moment? Am I projecting worry for the future? Am I in the past? Because that's where I was a lot, was in the past. And Aries, this is potentially, you could be in the past being mad about certain things, which is blocking your greatness. Because in the angel's advice is the Queen and Serena. Both are offering you something to come to you, something that you want in the way of bringing yourself peace, manifesting something. I would think that it could be money. Part of it could be money, but it could also be just the confidence and the security of the flow of resources, the flow of whatever it is that you want, because the Queen is a receptive energy. The Queen brings things to her without, and both of these characters, Serena, you can see the arms are open, and you can see her hands are on both of the sidebars of her, whatever you call those, little glass of wine there, relaxing, no worry. Now, Fiona was upside down for you in your opportunity, your obstacle. But when you turn this energy right up, the arms are open. Something is coming to you. You get to receive it, but you've got to sort of be mindful and step away from your anger. And I want to offer this because it's not, if there's been injustice or something that's happened where you need to pursue that, it's fine to pursue it. But are you pursuing it with anger? Are you pursuing it with "Arr!" Or are you pursuing it with confidence that I'm implementing justice? Because here is a rebirth card. Here is the birth and rebirth card, and Maya. Maya's almost tasking Aries right now, your ruling planet, as it is leaving Aquarius and moving into Pisces to use your spiritual sword. We forget about that. You know, that's kind of magical when I think about it. We go from potentially like a brick and mortar or a steel sword. I assume they're steel. I don't know. I don't have one. But now when Mars moves into Pisces, that physical sword evaporates, and now I must use my metaphysical sword. That's what we're doing. And that's going to cut through the muck. Oh my God, I just got chills everywhere. So this isn't about your emotional body. It's about your spiritual body that helps align your emotions. Really cool. All right, onward and upward to our Tauruses. Thank you, DJ. I appreciate that. All right, here we go. Taurus, this is rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Let's see what your card is. We have the Prince of Swords, but it's upside down. So this is a communications card. This is, well, let's see where we're going with this, because I don't think I can say that Taurus, this could be that you're not using your voice, or you're waiting for a message, or a message hasn't come in, or I don't know. I'm kind of keying into the two crows. The sword is sort of between the two crows. I wonder what that is. I wonder if it's the end of harsh words potentially, or harsh thoughts. Each deck has different artwork, and when I go in the morning to pick them, I always ask Spirit to lead me. And as I'm looking at this Prince of Swords, I'm noticing how red his cloak is. See this cloak, his cape? Now, you don't normally see a lot of red in a sword deck. And the red is the passion, the fire. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, this feels Marsy to me today. Like maybe, you know, I've been using harsh words, or I've been thinking harsh thoughts. And that's why this is upside down. And instead of these blue skies that we normally see with the swords. So let's see where we're going. All right. Our first angel for Taurus is Astera, reaching for the stars with your dreams and desires. There's Serena. We have Celeste, but she's upside down. And then we have Rosetta, which is about the inner child. You know, Taurus rules security, rules resources. It rules the voice in the sense of my opinion. I want to give my opinion. We just talked about Venus and how she's entering Aries. Now, the funny thing is we call Venus in detriment in Aries, but she's one sign away from her rulership in Taurus. So I think that that sort of really plays back to the idea that she may be the furthest away from cooperation and balance, but she is closer to discovering her own voice when she is brave. And I want to go back and I want to comment again that if we look at these planets not as things out in the sky, but the things that are representing our own personal characteristics and traits, that this gives us an opportunity to be brave to our own voice, the voice that we speak to ourselves, not the voice we speak to others. Aster is being joined by the birth and the rebirth card. Serena is being joined by the owl. Celeste is being joined by the goblin. And Rosetta is being joined by Merlin. All right, for my Tauruses, I know that you have Uranus still going through your first house. And if you're a late degree Taurus rising, it really makes a lot of your first house Geminian. And so be mindful because Uranus brings in brilliance. Uranus in Taurus, it's kind of throwing lightning strikes. It's when lightning hits the ground, and it leaves a hole. But do you know when lightning hits sand, it creates glass, it creates beauty. So there's something going on here where I think that this could potentially be self-talk. You could potentially be kind of going through a little bit of a wibble wobble about, is what I'm endeavoring or what I'm doing actually viable for me? Because Spirit is offering, and so is Uranus, a rebirth in the sense of reaching for the stars with your dreams and desires. Sometimes those desires are like, I just want ease. I just want ease and flow. I want everything to stay relatively, the same. I like the pace of my life. Whatever it is you want, it doesn't have to change. It just gets to be focused on. Because Serena and the owl are kind of, on some level, asking for serenity as you see two sides to a story. And that takes me back to these two crows. And this upside down dynamic makes me think that potentially Taurus has been thinking more about security than happiness. And I want to offer this because if you need a job, you need a place to live, you need something, it doesn't mean you don't need to be happy with that thing that you need. Just to fill the need doesn't actually work. It's like a Band-Aid. You have to fill it completely, which is what I think is going on with this Prince of Swords. Now, in the Angel's Advice, we have Celeste upside down and we have the Goblin. Celeste talks about a move to a new home or a new place of employment. But oftentimes I think of it as a shift because you can put my physical body anywhere. But when I shift the way I'm thinking about something, my belief about something, my focus and my intention on something, it changes my experience. Now, Taurus isn't really like that very much. Taurus is like, I like things that are familiar to me. I like things that I'm used to. Sometimes they're out of balance, but it's okay. I know that piece of land. Well, here now Spirit is saying you might be mucking yourself up because it's time for you to allow yourself to expand and to shift and to let Uranus bring that genius in or bring that new version of your life, that futuristic version into your life, because Merlin is offering justice, alchemy, and balance. But there's a part of you that has to trust you're rebirthing versus going back and forth. Years ago, when I first started working for myself, I didn't expect this, but I was talking to my accountant and he said to me, Teri, you can't have one foot in one door and one foot in another and be successful. So what he was saying is, go all in on this. I thought he was going to say, well, this is crazy what you're trying to do here. Nobody's going to want to do this, but he didn't do that. And that gave me even more, like I felt like he was God's angel that day, because I normally think of him being a finance guy, being practical, being realistic. He wouldn't think that this was smart. And now, he's doing my taxes for the last 13 years as me being an individual. Lulu was on earlier, Georgia. She's now napping. She's on the floor taking a snooze. But I will bring her on camera as soon as she stirs to wake, if you like. Okay, on to our Geminis, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. And you guys should be already preparing for Uranus's entry into your first house. She was enjoying the sunshine, and then I think it got a little hot. Just one little spot, just in the sun. Today we had one of our best walks. We're at 4 months now. And we're really getting into a little rhythm. She really is a funny girl, I'll tell you. And I mean funny in the best possible way. Like even watching her walk down the street, because her ears go like this, and then she pulls them back like this, and she's so like cute with her little trot. It's just adorable. Okay, Gemini. Oh, this is a nice, lovely card, and I want to offer. It's a major arcana card. When a major arcana card comes up, it has more power than the minors. And this is the justice card. This is the balance card, but it's also the number 11. And I always think 11 is an angel number. It's a master number of thought. So let's see where we're going, Gemini. And I want to offer this because often when I'm telling you to focus on something, I don't want you to focus on how to get there. Because if you focus on how to get there, you're going to feel like you're tripping over your own feet. Focusing in on how it feels when you get there is much more powerful because spirit can bring things magically out of nowhere. Thank you. I will, CC Pups, I should do that. I really should. I just get, I'm a dinosaur. I have a Taurus moon. I sometimes just, I undermine my own prosperity because I don't know how to do it and I don't have any help. Ah. And then I have no planets in any technological signs. Like I have no planets in Gemini and I have Chiron in Aquarius. So I kind of like, once I know it, I don't want to change it. But I made a commitment. I said to myself last week, I should have more options to pay than just the way I go. All right, here we go, Gemini. Let's see what this Justice card has to say, because to me, it's absolutely speaking about balance right now. We have Rosetta. We have Teresa, and she's upside down. That's a worry card. We have Oceana, and then we have Grace and Antoinette. Interesting. I know, so dumb. I'm not dumb. That's not true. I just get very sketched. I can put a piece of furniture together like nobody's business. I'm not scared of how big that piece of furniture is. I can do it. If you put me behind my television set with the wires, my brain immediately goes zzz, 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 zzz. When I got my dish, they didn't reconnect my sound bar, and I haven't had a sound bar since because I can't remember how to do it. And I'm afraid to touch anything. All right. Rosetta is being joined by the Truth card. Teresa is upside down, but she's being joined by Merlin. Oceana is being joined by the Deer. And Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the Bee card. Okay. For my Geminis, I want to offer this. This Justice card feels very much about that Libra balance, harmony, feeling a sense of support, okay? When we look at this particular deck, doesn't it look like there's a huge sword right down her dress? And then she's got this sun behind her. Her hands are aligned to the scales. And then she has this red sort of, actually quite fashionable right now, little shawl. And I think that red shawl is her security. It's like her base chakra, but it's held together by the sword of thought. And you can't really see it very easily, but in the middle of the scales, there is this line that goes directly towards my index finger. So I really think that this is about thought. There are peacock feathers in the background. And so I feel as if for my Geminis, being aware of your thoughts, what is the story you're telling? You are a child of God, and there is the Truth card. And so when you're look, Do I think that every Gemini every day goes back and forth contemplating every single thing in their life? No. But when it comes to the big stuff, when it comes to the things that make your life feel just and fair and moving forward, I do think that you can kind of go back and forth a little bit, because the magic comes from caring for yourself. Teresa's a card of talking about caring for people more than you care for yourself, caring for others. And the balance, having her upside down, is putting that focus back on you. That's where the alchemy, that's where the justice. We have justice in the form, see, justice. Can you see it? The word right in the middle there, balance. And we have justice here. In the angel's advice, Oceana and the deer are here together, being mindful of your emotional body and honoring your emotional body, being gentle with your emotional body, giving your emotional body grace. Because here's Grace and Antoinette, and there's the victory card. I think what this is here for Gemini, whatever you're walking through right now, and I want to offer this too, because even though Uranus is still hovering at 27 degrees, it's going to start to pick up gas and move into your first house pretty quickly. And that would also indicate that on some level, it's hovering through your 12th house. Okay. And that's, bringing up old stuff, karmic stuff, potentially stuff you don't really feel seen or heard. But more than anything, what I think this is saying is stick to your truth. Don't vacillate back and forth from it. That's where your harmony, your peace lies. And as you focus in on that, the scales of justice will bring in the elements that will bring balance. Now, we depict balance like this, right? But the truth of balance is a flow of this and this. Because when we really, unless you don't touch the scale at all, it will always move a bit. So I think that this is an opportunity for victory as you find compassion for yourself and you start to put yourself forward as the primary number one spot. I'm too tired today, or I want to have fun today. I don't know, whatever the key is. Let the inner child out to play. Okay. Onward and upward to our Cancers, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. I also want to comment that as Jupiter sits stationed at 15 degrees, it's right smack dab in the middle of the sign. And for some reason, that feels kind of significant to me, especially given the idea that Jupiter will be in a conversation with this eclipse. So, you may not think, Cancer, oh, well, that's a Virgo eclipse, but I think it's going to influence you as well. All right. And here is the Fool, another major arcana card. Now we see this moon very big on top of this character's head, because this is the Fool who's following their emotions, who's letting their gut instinct lead the charge. Somebody's ringing my doorbell. Hold on 1 second. Let me just check the door. Hey, I'm on live right now. I'll call you later. I'm on YouTube. I got a whole audience.
I'll just let you know I'm leaving.
Okay. Have a good one, Jerry.
And I'll probably be back with the 16th, 17th of March with my sister.
Okay, well, if you want to call me. Okay, thank you. Sorry, everybody. That was my neighbor. I think I told you that my neighbor, earlier I told you my neighbor had himself medically removed from the planet. He was in the hospital. His son is trying to take care of his affairs, and he just knocked on my door to tell me something. So I apologize for the interruption. I'm not used to people actually knocking on my door unless I know they're coming. Okay, here we go, Cancer, because we're on a journey here, and it's probably an emotional, intuitive healing journey. There's Chantal, the angel of romance. Here is Caressa, the angel of new beginnings. Astera says to reach for the stars. And then we have Aurora. Okay. Now I said Caressa is the angel of new beginnings, but she's also the angel of endings because ending brings the new beginning. So let's see. And that would be the Fool going on a new adventure. Could you hear Lulu bark when the doorbell rang? Chantal's being joined by the Truth card. Caressa's being joined by the Burden card, but it's upside down. That's good news. Astera's being joined by the Hawk. And Aurora's being joined by the Fire Fairy. All right. You could hear her bark. She's got a really loud bark. Oh, so are you leaving? CC Pips? All right, here we go. For my Cancers, Chantal is the angel of love and romance here. And there's the Truth card. It's very interesting to me when I look at this because I think of Cancer as a very loving sign, as a sign that wants to give love and wants to receive love, wants to create homes and workplaces and environments that are full of love and caring. But now there's a new adventure going on here because the shadow side of Cancer is I give to you and I hope you give back to me. And I think that here there's an end to that, okay? This is where Caressa says that you're at the end of a life cycle, and I think it's this Burden card, okay? And the Burden card is upside down, so it's lifting something. Because true nurturing is an exchange of energy. It's not necessarily one person giving to another. And I think even when it comes to parenting, and mind you, I'm only a fur baby parent, but I think that everything is like a give and take. So when you give that child respect for their opinion, you may not agree with it, you may not say yes to it, but you're creating a give and take, and you're also taking care of yourself. Because Astera is saying to reach for the stars for your dreams and desires, and there is the Hawk. And I really think that this is an emotional adventure of putting your priority first. And if indeed you want to be in a relationship with another person or you want more intimacy in your life, that could be one level, but it doesn't have to be the only level. It is the level of which you create. What does your emotional body want from you? What experiences, what adventures does it want you to embark upon? Because Aurora is saying you're flying high right now. Don't descend because you'll soon inspire others. And here is the Fire Fairy, which is all about optimism. It's all about creative action. So I think ultimately what Jupiter is doing in the house of Cancer right now is expanding the desires of whatever it is you want. Because each season of life brings in different desires. And while, oftentimes we all think love is the be all end all, and it can also be other things that bring us a sense of connection or a sense of peace or a sense of love and community. So I think that for this particular, I just started to calculate Cancer, Virgo, they're sextile. So, and because Jupiter's in your house, the moon is sextiling your sign and the sun is trining your sign. So you have very favorable aspects through Jupiter's influence on this eclipse to start to venture out into deeper levels of what will bring you a sense of emotional exchange. I don't think this is about emotional peace. I don't think that necessarily, because I do feel the Cancer energy wanting an exchange of energy with somebody else or another physical experience. I have my little home. I like a quiet little home, to be honest with you, but my neighborhood is noisy, noisy, noisy. You can hear crap. People are talking. I can hear people sneezing. It took me a year to train my neighbor upstairs, not to talk incessantly so loudly, because I could hear everything he was saying. It wasn't until he went on a trip to China, and when he got back, he was talking so loud. I texted him. I said, "How was your trip to China?" He's like, "How do you know I went to China?" I said, "Everybody knows you went to China." He talked too loud. Okay, here we go. Now I don't hear a peep out of him. All right, we are on to our Leos, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. We have the Seven of Pentacles upside down. So this is not a time to really contemplate. When I say not contemplate, I mean this is a time where you're still growing something. You're still building something. The Seven of Pentacles is a point where you're looking at something you've been creating, something you've been working on, something you've been focusing on, and you've decided, okay, it's time to pull the trigger. You make a decision one way or the other. Here, I would say it's the opposite. Now let's see why, because we may want to look at the foundation of what we're building. I would love to live out in the woods, and then my city mouse would be freaking out about every little critter. When I was in North Carolina, I loved it, and yet the weather and the elements I was not prepared for. It's funny how you get used to certain things because you grow up around them, and they just become familiar to you. I was watching that lottery dream home, and these people bought a house out like literally miles. There was nobody. And I thought on some level that seems so peaceful. On the other level, it's like, God, that's scary. People could come and murder you and nobody would know. My mind works really weird. Okay. Leo, here we go. Azure, she's upside down. Celeste is here. Isaiah is upside down, and so is Francesca. Okay, for my Leos, a little something going on here in the stars for you. I think it's a reassessment week. I do too. I like watching these. I like watching shows where people, when you look at all those people, a lot of times I guess that people inherit money, but when you hear the stories and you see what it does, it just makes me happy. I also like Traders. I don't know if you guys watch Traders, but man, the season finale of Traders was a really good one. I miss it when the show is over. I wish the seasons were longer. All right. Leo, Azure's being joined by the love card. Ho, ho, ho. Here we go. Celeste is being joined by the letting go card. Isaiah is upside down. And that's about starting new things, but we're not starting something new because he's being joined by the water fairy. And then finally, we have the king joining an upside down Francesca. This is all about review. I know we're in a Mercury retrograde, and that's exactly, something for Leo this week. This is not about harvesting anything. It's not about changing anything. It's almost like a pause until the dust settles and clears. Right now, Azure is saying your desired outcome is not going to happen because somewhere there needs to be an infusion of consciousness, of energy. And I say that that's the love card. But I think that this could be where, when I think about Leo as a rising sign, and Leo in the 12th house is the invisible romantic, the invisible creator, the invisible leader. So depending upon your rising sign, this might be a point, because what's happening, especially, if your rising sign is Leo, Pluto's making an opposition to you. And again, the degree, if you're an early born Leo, makes you very, very Leo, very strong Leo, but it's also rewriting how you perceive yourself. So somewhere this spread is saying you're assessing something. You take advantage of the Mercury retrograde, because when I look at the letting go card, it's never about letting go. It's about an incorporation of something. And I think that incorporation is, how am I viewing things? What do I want? Where do I want to be? This looks to me, with emotional water fairy and Isaiah upside down, that inadvertently you could be thinking about the audience. And I say that because, when I use the word audience, I don't mean a literal audience. I mean about the people in your life and how they approve or disapprove of your choices. Because somewhere something feels like you get to emotionally connect to a deeper desire within you. Sometimes we will just make blanket statements like, well, I'm too old for that, or I'm not pretty enough for that, or I don't have enough money for that. And maybe that's what Spirit's wanting you to reassess. Maybe there's something going on inside of Leo right now that's dumbing down not only what you want in the way of feeling love or expressing love, but just about the flow. Because right now, Francesca is saying, what are you visualizing right now? Negativity will block your progress. And the king here to me is not about someone else. It's about you taking leadership and really being an authority in your life, looking at what you're growing and deciding if it's really what you want and what you want to live 5 years from now. You know, when we get older, we're not coached to think, what's your 5-year plan? You know, I think once kids come in the picture for a lot of people, or you get into your later 30s or your 40s, it feels like things are kind of on their own course. I don't know. Maybe this is an opportunity to think about every chapter of life is a course, and where do I want it to be? Because somewhere it feels as if your emotional body is not lined up with the long-term goal. I don't know. Okay, let's go on to our Virgos. This is your eclipse. I think about, if I died, people coming into my house all the time, like what they would find. It's so funny. Because I just know too many dead people, to be honest with you. I know I've had a lot of people die, and they just don't seem to be stopping. And when I think about like Gus, my neighbor, who went into the hospital never in a million years thinking he wouldn't come back. I don't think about like my own, well, I guess I do think about my own death, but not like how I'm going to die, because I have it all intended. You know, I want to just go out in a bang. I don't want any long illnesses. I don't like pain. I don't like discomfort. So I just figure heart attacks run in my family. Let me have a heart attack in my sleep, and, that's the end of that. Oh my God, Rose Light, you're so funny. You just broke me up. It will be really, yeah, I'm not a neat freak, but I'm pretty clean. I'm a pretty clean person. That was really funny. That's what I think when I do the dishes. I don't know if I've told you this before, but my mom is a hoarder, and my sister is a notch below a hoarder. Okay. She has a maid, so that keeps things more organized, but they're both kind of not good that way. And when I was younger, I had to live with them, and I would always tell my dad, I need my own space. I can't live with these people. They're, everything's a mess all the time. And he just assumed that I was a slob. And he's been dead 15 years, and I still bitch at him on the other side going, see me doing my dishes? Do you see how neat my house is? Do you see how organized everything is? Because he didn't believe in me. And I'm 66 years old, and I'm still whining about that crap. Hopefully I'll get over that shit soon. All right, Libra, are you ready? Oh, Virgo. We're on Virgo, right? Yeah, Virgo. Here we go. Queen of Swords. She's upside down. What's this about? Let's see. Queen of Swords is a Libra energy, queen of thought. This is where the queens always have a maternal energy, clearly, a receptive energy, an emotional energy. And when we get to the Queen of Swords, we're marrying emotions and thoughts together. So, and what is, I really think that this Virgo full moon is going to illuminate beliefs that you have about yourself, beliefs that you have that are so deeply ingrained that you don't even know it's a belief. I'm still laughing over that neat freak thing. That make it easy to clear it out. I think the authorities come to take me away in a body bag. What they'll say in my house. I can't imagine anybody being around me when I die for some reason. I always imagine it alone. Okay. Vanessa is upside down. She's about faith and fear. There's Akasha, the spiritual teacher, but she's upside down. We have Maya, who's also a teacher, about schooling and education. She's straight up. And then Esther is saying to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires. For my Virgos, I want to ask you, do you resonate at all with the idea that Chiron could rule your first house? Because Chiron, to me, that makes so much sense. Because Chiron rules healing, Virgo is a health house. Because it's also a house of thought, and the queen of thought is upside down. This eclipse is going to illuminate where your thoughts have been upside down. Vanessa is being joined by the king. Remember, Vanessa is about faith or fear, and she's upside down. We have Akasha, the spiritual teacher, being joined by the high priestess, but the spiritual teacher is upside down. The high priestess is not. And the high priestess, when we think of Virgo, we think of discernment. We think of analysis. We think of process. And she rules discernment. Interesting. Maya is being joined by the earth fairy. We could infer that this is like Chiron in Virgo, the earth fairy, physical health, grounding and foundations. Oh, this is so fun. And then finally, the risk card, and it's upside down. All right, Virgo, here we go. The Queen of Swords is literally saying to my Virgos, you get to reassess your thought process and see if you're standing in authority of it, or if others are, influences are standing in authority of it. When we did the show last week, I had mentioned that I thought things might happen, something might happen to the president. And then somebody said that there was an attempt at Mar-a-Lago of some sorts. And yet when I looked at the news this week, there was very little mention of it. I think I saw one article on it. I'm using this as a metaphor, okay? Because your mental news feed, whatever's going on in your mind, is not running the right stories. It's running something else. And because the Vanessa being upside down makes me feel like I'm not in authority of my thoughts. I'm not in authority of my faith. I'm maybe even struck a little bit by fear, or struck by the thoughts that are challenging, not the thoughts that are transformational. Akasha is the spiritual teacher, and she's upside down. Now, this is interesting to me because, of course, she's with the high priestess, which is the high priestess of spirituality, of reception, of understanding that the physical body is supporting a non-physical experience. That made sense. I had to think about it for a second, because the soul is non-physical. The soul is energy, and the body supports that. Because in the angel's advice is Maya, and the angel of Maya's about schooling and education, and then the earth fairy. So I think that this is about being discerning with whatever you're hearing about information that has to do with your physical experience, whether it be your physical body, your physical home, your earthly experience. And I think that this is about taking your power back. Aster is saying to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires, but then the risk card's upside down. That might be hard for you because your thoughts are still assessed, potentially bouncing back and forth between. I have had not a tingling in my left arm. But I've felt like nerve pain, like every once in a while, a little, it's not pain, I can't say, it's almost like a nerve alert. And my whole life, I have had electrical impulses through my body. When I was in my 30s, I would have these weird, brain electrical shoot things happening. When I was in my 30s, I didn't think anything about it. I just like a zap, exactly, like a zap. And yet now that I'm a little older, every little zap is like, oh my God, what, And I was laughing at myself the other day because I was like, come on, you're fine. Don't be ridiculous. If something is really out of balance, I'll know it, because somewhere here it's asking you to be the king, the law of your own process. The queen is here asking you to turn this right side up and to go for peace and harmony. This is Libra energy, straight up. Balance. The high priestess and the spiritual teacher card, it's almost like Virgo, physician, heal thyself, aligned to the power of your body, because you already know inherently that you have the power to do whatever you need to do to bring into the physical world what it is you want. And then Astera, reach for the stars with your dream and desires. And the risk card is like literally saying it's not as big a risk as you think it is when you turn your thoughts around. No more work, rose light. It's not work. What it is an opportunity. Oh, my head was looking that way. Now I'm going to turn this way. You know what? The universe will hand it to you when you align your head towards it. The universe is not tripping us up. We think the universe is tripping us up, but that's an emotional thing that the universe doesn't do. The universe, source energy, manifestation is like a computer. If you don't type the right letters into the search bar, you are not going to get what you're looking for. So this is where you start. All the money I need comes to me. The world is, everything is conspiring for everything is working out for my highest and greatest good. And even if you don't necessarily 100% believe it in the moment, the mantra of it will start to bring physical experiences in to support that. And then you can identify where, because frustration is a lack of alignment. Frustration is work. That the problem with the work is it feels arduous. I want this to be more fun. So if you think about, if you have work to do to be in alignment, rather than make it work, make it a playtime project. So let's say you want to align. Practice is a great word. I love that. You get to practice. See, I knew that just shows you're in more alignment than you realize. You just get to practice aligning to, things come to me effortlessly. I'm still on my little, I want to win the lottery, but I haven't won anything in the lottery in a really long time. And I've noticed patterns a little bit, but what I've noticed about myself is, how do I process a winning or a losing ticket? Because a winning ticket is something I can see right now, but a losing ticket is a chance in the second chance lottery. So I don't know if I've actually lost yet. What will I think? That's all. What will I think? The universe is working for me because I'm aligned to it, because I'm literally sending out in speech and in thought the experience I want to have. Oh, I'm going to win the lottery. I'm going to win the lottery. I don't know if you guys have heard of Brian Scott. He's on YouTube. He does all these videos to have you at night win the lottery. Money will come to you. Bunches of money will come to you. It kind of makes me laugh, but at the same time, I'm like, I know that he's right. When you align to that, it really isn't luck. Nobody is lucky. Everybody is intentional. And what we focus in on, we create. All right, Libra, here we go. The Empress, speaking of money, money, money. This is our Venus card. Venus is entering. She's the last degrees of her exaltation. She's not really wanting to pack her bags to go to Aries just yet. She's like, can we have one more cocktail before I go? Can we listen to that album one more time? I love this deck because here Venus has wings like a butterfly, and it kind of depicts her continuing transformation. And I want to emphasize very much that Venus has no moons. So emotionally, I feel like she craves things sometimes. Scorpio's next, but we're on Libra right now. Because I want to offer this. When we look at this card down here, we see these two moons. And this is like balance for me. Understanding that sometimes when we go through a divine disruption, it actually illuminates our path more clearly of what we want. Oop. It's so fun to see Lulu relaxing and sleeping so much more. And I know it's not because she's like old or sick. It's more like she's finally relaxing. She's not on such high alert. The noises in the neighborhood she's getting used to them. All right, Libra. Yvonne is upside down. That's my card of vulnerability. Then I have Francesca. She's all about negativity. Then we have victory in the form of Omega. And then we have Maya. Okay. I love that word, practice. I think she finally feels at home, really at home. Our walk this morning was so nice because in the morning time, she's funny because we go on 3 walks a day. We have our big walk first thing in the morning, and she's always so excited. She's like a reindeer dragging me down the street. By the second walk, we usually like go to the market or, we run around somewhere, find dinner. And she's pretty excited on that one too. But the third walk is the last one where she pees at night. And it's so funny because she's totally slows down. She knows I go first. She's much more mellow at that one. So I see her little brain computing everything. And I just love her in such a fun way, such a relaxed way. Yvonne is being joined by the Joy card, Libra. Francesca's being joined by the Spider. Omega's being joined by the Love card. And Maya is upside down, but she's being joined by the Wasp. Okay, that's a little challenging. The Yvonne is a card of vulnerability for me. It's a card where it's straight up, I have to be vulnerable to the things I want and the things I love. And then there's the Joy card. So I want to offer this. I think the Empress this week and your ruling planet is giving you an opportunity to start to be less vulnerable to the things that you love. Literally, like it's not an if, it's not a hope, but a when, When I look at Francesca and the Spider card is interesting to me because Francesca is about negativity. This would infer that maybe you're not feeling negative, actually. Maybe you're actually feeling like you're connected on some level. But now this is where it gets just a little funky for me. Not yet, but Omega is victory and then the Love card. It almost feels when I look at this like Libra is going through some sort of transformation where potentially it's not just putting yourself first, but prioritizing things in a way that has you looking what brings joy to me, joy to other people, and joy is kind of a funny word when I think about it because we're not going to walk around like idiots. Oh, I'm so happy all the time. But sometimes we can be joyful during a disruption. I remember one time my car battery died, and it died in my stall, in my parking spot. And I thought, oh, what a fabulous disruption this is because it's really not a problem. All I have to do is just call AAA, and I didn't have to get a tow truck. I didn't have to do this. And I actually was celebrating the disruption because the end of this is a stinging energy. So I almost want to say this week, don't let anyone steal your joy. Don't let anyone steal your agenda. Don't let anyone disrupt your peace and your harmony. Remember that you're the Empress. You receive things. You make things grow. In one of my decks, the Empress, well, in almost all decks, the Empress is pregnant. So that is a process. It's not the delivery, it's the process. So embrace the process. And I want to offer this too, because as Libra experiences Venus moving out of your 6th house, potentially your 7th, but your 6th house into your 7th house, that could be where whatever partnerships you have, whatever that Aries energy is fostering for you, because we also have the not the North Node, Neptune, and we have Saturn in that area. So you might be feeling the Joy card could be you being vulnerable to the idea of what brings you joy. You could feel a little caught up in a web of your life, but the victory comes by pursuing the things that you love in small bits and pieces and not allowing any disruptions to be a distraction from your happiness. If anyone tries to piss you off, rather than being mad about it, think, are you distracting me from my peace of mind? Are you distracting me from being able to breathe because I'm claiming my space? Yeah, that's where we're going, and that's where we're ending. Okay, now we're on to Scorpio. Yeah, she's just like snooze a lot, happy girl. All right, Scorpio, your card is, this is lovely, the 6 of Pentacles. Now this is the law of attraction in the tarot. And in this particular deck, we see this woman holding a ceremonial tomahawk. We see balance here in the way that this is depicted with the 3 on one side and 3 on the other. And the rare white buffalo is the wise one that knows how to harness their power. In the traditional Rider-Waite deck, you see a benefactor, okay? And he's dropping money over the guy that has the orange tunic on, who's begging for money. And then over the guy on the other side of him, he's holding the scales of justice, and that guy's wearing a blue tunic. For years, I didn't quite understand the card, but then suddenly it all coagulated in my head. The guy in the orange tunic who's getting the money is invested in his passion. He's excited. He doesn't care how it plays. He doesn't care how he gets there at that point. He's just so focused that he naturally draws that benefactor to give him his resources. Where the guy on the other side, the blue one, is fretting. He's worried. He's all in scarcity, and the benefactor is just not paying attention. That's the law of attraction. That which you focus on, you create. So, Scorpio, let's see where we're going with this. Okay, our first angel is Daniel, the angel of history of relationships. Bridget is here. Azure is here. And Seraphina is upside down. Daniel is the angel of marriage on the face of the card, but it really talks more about the history of which you endeavor relationships. I don't want cheaters. I don't want liars. That's not the focus. I want someone honest. I want somebody who is committed. We tend to, as humans, focus and declare what we don't want when what we should be doing is declaring what we do want. Oh, love that. Scorpio moon is the most intuitive moon in the zodiac. I will fight anyone on it because it's not subject to the indecision and blurriness of Pisces or the maternal instincts of Cancer. It's much more, I love it. I mean, I honestly, it can be scary as all get up if the person's out of balance. All right. It could be the worst criminal mind ever, but in balance or even a little bit out of balance, this is an intuitive moon. It's a smart moon. It's a powerful moon. Posted. You got it, girl. Daniel is being joined by the choice card, the mystery. Bridget is being joined by the novice, new beginnings. Azure is being joined by the cow, asking and receiving. And finally, Seraphina, which is upside down, is being joined by the serpent, knowledge and healing. So this is for my Scorpios. Whatever you are focused in on, in whatever you are in relationship, whatever you want to marry yourself to, it's about a choice. And everything is flawed on this planet. We are all fabulously flawed. Nothing is perfect. Nobody's going to fill our dreams. Nobody's going to be the you complete me. You're already complete on your own. They can only complement you. Because here, there's a new beginning being offered to my Scorpios as you look deeper into a situation and don't take it for face value. The unbalanced Scorpio will have a very Martian reaction, knee-jerk anger, okay? But Pluto is compelling you on some level to look deeper into not only other people's motivations, but your own motivations, because I think that's where the money is. In the angel's advice, the cow is here promising abundance and nurturing, and as you're saying, your desired outcome will happen in the very near future. Don't force it. Just focus on it. Because with Seraphina being upside down, this almost feels like almost a little bit like, well, this is how it's been historically. And this is where, when we look at, because I almost feel like this family is not about family, mom, dad, brother, sister. It feels more like the family that is my mind, the family that is my family of thoughts in balance. Herman's Head, Inside Out, the movie, all our emotions, because the serpent is here offering wisdom from some sort of experience. So I think that this potential, the Virgo eclipse is going to sextile you. And in that, there could be, no, there is information on some level about your history, but it isn't about the work of your history. It's more about the, oh, that was then, now this is now. It's about turning your head. Just what this card is saying. It could be about your karmic history, but also about, if I focus on that history, is it going to change? Or if I focus on where I want to be, the benefactor will start to drop the money. The rare white buffalo will appear. The rare white buffalo in the Indian culture was beyond a sacred animal. I can't remember all the lore behind it, but it was something that when that happened, when a baby was born that way, it was foretelling of a good harvest season or a good planting season, good season. That's the way I want to put it. I'm trying to channel my past life as an Indian, but it's escaping me. All right, let's go on to our Sagittarius, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. All right, and we have the King of Wands, but he's upside down. Let's look and see where we're going here. Our first angel is Archangel Uriel. The second is Desiree. The third is Caressa, but she's reversed. And the final is Sonia. There we go. Thank you. I love it that you guys can just look that up right away. Hope a new beginning. All right, Sagittarius. We don't usually think of Sagittarius as getting irritated. We kind of categorize it as always, Sagittarius kind of being ruled by Jupiter has this sort of always feeling like as if Sagittarius is so easy. But, Sagittarius has its own journey because we have Archangel Uriel being joined by the deer here. And this could be a potential that Sagittarius is birthing something or wanting and feeling thwarted a little bit. Let's see. Desiree is being joined by the focus card. Caressa is being joined by the fire fairy. Caressa is upside down. And then the eagle is joining Sonia. Somebody's smoking some serious reefer outside. I can smell it. Okay, the King of Wands upside down. This is really you, Sagittarius. This is your card. This rules Sagittarius, Aries, and Leo, oftentimes because this particular deck has the two lions on it, but it's very Sagittarian. You might not be feeling like you're at this moment, all of your passions, all of your desires, all the things that you want to birth are on track, okay? Because I think that this is about frustration, Archangel Uriel, and the deer is asking you to be gentle with yourself. There's a divine timing sometimes in disruption. Meaning, you think you want to continue ahead. I want to expand. I want to expand. I want to expand. But sometimes we need to contract in order to truly see where we want our expansion to be. Because Desiree is saying conditions aren't favorable and your focus is a little off. Now, I want to offer this because there's sometimes we as humans, we say things and we don't realize that we're getting in our own way. We say things like, I did all the work. I've been doing the work. I've been doing the work. Where's my manifestation? Where's my manifestation? It's right there in your energy, right? Because you're doing the work with a sort of aberrated or diluted intention. Whatever the work is, am I doing it because I love it? Or am I doing it because I'm frustrated and I want a partner, so I have somebody to pay the bills with, somebody to and help support me and watch over me when I'm old? I'm just using this as a random example because somewhere I think your focus might be There might be an underbelly of something going on, because Caressa is saying that you're at the end of a life cycle, but you're not, because she's upside down. And here's the fire fairy. So if you feel like things are topsy-turvy, they're not. They're going through a divine disruption of some kind to open something else up, awaken something else up. Sonia is your deceased loved ones, but I think they're your guides and your angels. And then we have the eagle here, which is all about connection to the other side. It's also about integrity. It's also about standing in majesty for yourself, being majestic about the things that you want. I think what this spread is and what this moon could potentially illuminate, because let's think about it. Sagittarius squares Virgo, and it's a 12-degree eclipse. The great attractor is at 14 degrees of Sagittarius. So I want to offer this for my Sagittarius, is the illumination may be that you've been doing the work, but you've been doing it with frustration. You've been doing it with wanting the timing to prove you, to show you where is it? Let me see it. Let me see it. And that's a block. That's a speed bump. That's kind of a dream derailer. So I think this is about standing in more leadership. The King of Wands would be putting your intellect with your fire, right? And looking at, because I want to offer this. Every dream that we pursue is only as viable as our passion, not our resources, because everything is going to get hard at some point. Everything has a speed bump. Everything that we want has some turn, I baked a loaf of bread. She had to be the sacrificial loaf so that I could figure out how to do the sourdough better. So am I going to look at that divot, that speed bump, and have it stop me, or am I going to continue on? Because that speed bump is going to give me resources. And more than anything, it's about connecting Sagittarius to the divinity within you. That's how you're going to potentially get through this week and through whatever the illumination of this eclipse is. And it may be that you've been doing all this work about something and then you don't even like what you've been doing, or you don't like it enough. You know, I've noticed a really weird thing about my videos. My Saturn videos do so well. The planet of restriction and limitation, I get my biggest numbers on. I don't know why that works out that way for me. I like Saturn a lot, though. I better like it. It's floating over my south node right now. All right, here we go. On to our Capricorns. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Your card is the Judgment card, but it's upside down. Very interesting. Let's see where we're going. Clearly, Judgment gets to be in alignment in some way. Whoa. I want you to also think of the Judgment card a little bit like, I kind of think of it like Pluto. I don't know why. Because when I come to a judgment about something, I can understand. If we look at Pluto as being that deep psychologist that illuminates on some level the darkness within ourselves, then I can sort of be relieved about that. I can sort of be like, all right, been there, done that. Now where do I go? How do I turn my head this way? All right. First angel for our Capricorns is Rochelle. As you honor and follow the guidance of your heart, prosperity is coming, but she's upside down. We have, Chantal and Fiona both came out. So it's something that you love, and Spirit is here to help you with it. And finally, Victory is here. All right, so maybe don't make a rash judgment about how things are playing out. Joining Rochelle, who's upside down, is the Restriction card. Chantal is being joined by the nourishment of the cow, asking and receiving. Fiona's being joined by the deer. And the final, Omega is being joined by the Wealth card. This is harmonious wealth. Capricorn, I want to offer this. Your ruling planet is in a conjunction that hasn't happened for 1,500, a little less than 1,500 years, okay? On a point, there's a complete rebirth, a complete recalibration, a renovation of the self. And you went through a Pluto deconstructing for many years. Now your opportunity is not to be judgy, not to be judgy of yourself. And I mean that in such a way, because you can have discernment, but don't inadvertently look at your results as they are and think that's what's happening. Because I really feel like this restriction card is about taking a pause and recalibrating what I want from my heart. What do I really, really want? Because here, this love card and this asking and receiving card does not feel like it's just about intimate love, but there's a revival of something that you want, something that you want to create, you want to birth. And when you speak to the universe, again, here I sound a little repetitive, spirit starts to listen. So be gentle with yourself as you connect. And you also are going to be inspired by something. But on some level, you've got to start to discern. Okay, let me back up. So many inspirations and so many things that are coincidences are really divine alignment. Okay. And we think, oh my God, I had an idea. Did I have an idea or was I inspired into an idea? Because something is shifting for you and the things that you want to build. Now, Capricorn cannot build in concept. Capricorn must build in the material world. If I say I'm going to build a glass, you have to see the glass in order for Capricorn to be happy. The audience needs to see, I did this, I built this. And you will. You will. Stay the course. Keep your eye on the prize. This is harmonious wealth, but it's also the wealth that you build out. And there's your victory card. Literally says your desired outcome is coming into fruition. Keep up the good work. The good work is not being judgy at your results, not being judgy about time, and remembering to keep your eye on the prize. I kind of going back to the lottery. I buy these tickets, and when I don't win, I think to myself, oh, I'm going to be pissed off. I spent $60 and I didn't win anything. No, I think, okay, I'll just stick it in the second chance and we'll see what happens. I'm just trying to change my vibration. Now, I come from a long line of DNA poverty, okay? So I'm not going to shift that overnight. There's parts of me that have been struggling for money. I may not voice it, but, it's a vibration that I carry within me. So it's not going to just turn around overnight, but I know it's turning. And so that's all part of the surrender. Good job. Just call me. See, our final sign are Aquariuses. We have the Five of Swords, but it's upside down. Now, this is actually more positive when it's upside down. The Five of Swords is a card of contempt. It's where I'm in an argument or I'm in a disagreement or I'm in a challenge of some kind, and I may win, but I don't feel like a winner. I don't feel like I got validated. I don't feel like the truth was honored in some way. Well, with the Five of Swords reversed, this is something you're no longer paying attention to. You're no longer interested in relationships or dynamics that involve having to win or lose, or people who must want to be, I want to use the word dominant, because when there's a me or you, it's us versus them, somebody is going to not be happy. So I feel like this ultimately, when you turn this card around, it's the win-win. Now we're going to have dynamics where both sides win, both dynamics win. Let's see where we're going and what part of life. Because in this particular deck, each one of the swords, which represents our mind, is piercing a heart, but it has a different color. One is red, one is white, one is blue, one is green, one is yellow. And I think those represent sort of, it's not the chakras completely, but in some ways it is the chakras. Because the red is pointing directly, the opposite is the green. So there's my fight or flight in the red chakra. The green could be my heart chakra. We have the blue handle is my mind. The yellow handle is my power. And then ultimately the fifth one is that white light that is connecting me to spirit. So we want to create a win-win and see how duality also serves each other. Did I say duality? I meant opposites, how they serve a new perspective. Maybe that was correct. I don't know. My words feel like they're a little funky right now. All right, there's Bethany. We have Crystal. She's upside down. We have Chantal. And then we have Daniel. Okay. Collaboration, yes. Compromise does feel a little like, because sometimes compromise is where I just get tired of the fight, so I just give in. Collaboration is, more balanced. Okay, so we've got Bethany who's talking about self-care. And then it's being joined by the burden card. Interesting. Crystal is being joined by the joy card. Now, Crystal's about having faith and hope, and yet this is upside down. Chantal is being joined by the horse, and Daniel is being joined by the bee card. Okay. I want to offer this because the Five of Swords being upside down is very, it almost also feels like it could be a history card. Thank you, Susie. It's good to see you. When I look at this with Bethany and the burden card in the foundational position, I almost feel like if indeed, Aquarius has Aquarius has this weird, I don't want to say weird, but there can be a feeling of not being connected to individuals. You're connected to bigger concepts, to the collective, to visions of what can be. But in the everyday world, there may be a feeling of not complete connection, okay, or not being completely understood. I feel like this is maybe is a story that has been brewing throughout the years, and now it's time to take that story and change it around. Because with the Five of Swords being upside down, you no longer need to feel this contempt or feel like I have to win. For me to win, I have to lose something. Okay, I have to lose something. If I win, I'll lose respect. If I win, I'll lose friends. If I win, if I take care of me, there'll be a burden attached to it. That's what I think is coming in for Aquarius. Now, Spirit saying, no, stay the course to what brings you your happiness. Stay the course of your future. I know your faith is waning right now. I know you can't see how it's going to play out, but just stay the course. Stay the course and continue to move that direction. This Chantal and the angels' advice is not about intimate love. It's about whatever you love. The angels are saying, stick to what you love, even if it doesn't make sense. This is one of the things why I love my Taurus moon, because even though I worked in a ton of different jobs throughout my life, there was a part of me that's always stayed true to the spiritual part of myself. I've always unabashedly played with the tarot deck and played with astrology, and eventually the world caught up to my interests. And now there's these forums and platforms and places for me to express that, because Daniel is saying you will come into victory over your history in some way. In the previous collaborations that Aquarius has had, you're not a good collaborator, Aquarius. You are an individual with genius ideas. You are probably sometimes meant to be a leader, and you may not like it. You may want to have a co-star, but sometimes the co-star would not really be in alignment. So I almost feel like maybe this week with this eclipse, you will be enlightened on some level as to it's kind of okay to be you and how you want it to be. You don't need necessarily to have either the validation or the agreement of someone else. It's more important for you to stick to your own vision of what your future is. And if your faith is waning, stay the course. Continue to move towards either emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, because there is victory to be had, victory over your history, victory over where you've been. I have my Chiron in Aquarius, and so I have no planets in social. Well, I have planets in Libra, which is the social house, but it's in the 6th house. Other than that, I don't have any planets really in friend houses. And my Chiron is in Aquarius, and I often think that I've been wounded by my oddness. I'm out in outer space somehow, and I'm not tethered to the earth, and it's always kind of put me on the outskirts of the common activities that most people do. And I've struggled with that because there's a part of me that wants to be embraced, and then there's a part of me that's not interested in any of those things. I'll never forget years ago when True Religion jeans were on sale, and my sister called me and said they were $60 a pair. And I'm like, what are True Religion jeans? I could care less about them. And, because I was never into fashion, I was never into those things. It set me aside, apart from everyone else. So where I'm going with this is that I think on some level, my Aquarius is this week as Pluto goes through your first house. It's a surrender to rewriting yourself. And it's a surrender to rebirthing a more authentic version of your genius. And not everybody may get it, but do they need to? Do they? I don't know. Susie, we start with the birthday month. And then we work our way around the Zodiac, because I just can't always start with Aries and end with Pisces. My Libra won't let me. It's not fair to make Pisces and all the later signs always have to wait. So that was my solution there. Well, we have come to a very long broadcast today. I'm sorry. I guess I got a little wordy today, but I love all of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your likes and your thumbs up. Have a great eclipse week. Please watch the eclipse video. I think you'll find it very powerful. There's a lot of information, and Jupiter's influence is quite strong here. Thank you so much, Rose Light. So nice to see you in the chat. I don't know if you're familiar with me, but I haven't seen your name before here, so I'm excited to have new energy in the room. Thank you so much, everybody. I love you to bits, and I'll be back next week. Lou, do you want to say goodbye to everybody? She's stretching. Let me get her and she can say goodbye to y'all. Hold on. Come here, baby girl. Come here, my little silly girl. Come here. Turn over this way. Turn over. I'll pick you up this way. Oh, she's so funny. Okay, here she comes. The star of the show. Lulu, say hi to everybody. Look over there. Look over there. Look over here. She's a tired, relaxed girl today. It's very warm. So she's here. She's had a good weekend. Thanks, everybody. It was good to see you, and we'll see you next week. She is a star, isn't she? All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Love you. End chat. Oh, there it is, way up there in the corner. Bye. Okay.